On today's Newsa-Cast, the magic is alive in downtown Appleton. Tosh had to play hockey dad, but I had a magical conversation with Jennifer Stephany of ADI. We take an old look at new. The Red Smith Banquet Throwback this week brings us back to 1994 and Neenah native Jill Lieber. She's the journalist that discovered and uncovered the Pete Rose gambling scandal. And we finish off the show with a little It's Forgotten and I'm Never Forgetting. Nailed it. So what do you say? Let's pour a tall glass of Kool-Aid. Let's get this show on the road.
I didn't grow up here, but it's definitely home. And I just can't imagine living anywhere else.
Welcome to the Newsa-Cast. What is a Newsa-Cast? It's where we bring local folk stories to life through conversation.
Welcome to another episode of the Newsa-Cast. Very excited. We kind of have an Appleton-centric Newsa-Cast this week, which I think is awesome. Joe had an awesome opportunity to interview Jen Stephany, who is the head of ADI, of Appleton Downtown Incorporated.
Oh, Tosh, some would say it was magical. Indeed. I had a nice glass of Kool-Aid, and I'm ready to go, Tosh. Might be my favorite Newsa-Cast ever.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, too, because I have not heard it. I was busy that night with hockey, so I didn't get a chance to partake in the interview. But very excited. There's lots of cool stuff with Downtown Appleton. And, you know, as we talked about Downtown Appleton and just starting to reminisce a little bit about growing up. And I remember taking the bus down to the Exclusive Company.
Yeah.
When it was in Downtown Appleton to go buy albums.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah, I remember doing that. That was a lot of fun.
Do you still have those albums, Tosh?
You know what? I actually do still have some albums.
I'm not surprised. For those of you that don't know, Tosh is a huge music fan. Always had the best albums, best CDs, best tapes, whatever the.
Yeah, we have in the boys and mine man cave down in the basement. It's more of the boys' man cave, not mine. They play their video games and stuff. They actually have a record player, and we have some of the old albums that I took from my parents' place.
Yeah.
When they got stored there, and so yeah, we listen to them every once in a while.
That's cool.
So, do you have any albums left?
No, I don't. I haven't had albums in years, but I do I miss the sound of albums, and someday I think I'll get a record player again and rediscover some of the old albums. I can remember, well, heck, my mom had them. Remember Barry Manilow and Lionel Richie and the Carpenters and some old bands like that, and then of course the stuff that we liked, Def Leppard or Kiss, whatever the 80s, the hair band,
the hair bands of the 80s, and then get into the grunge of the 90s.
Yeah, that was so good too. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, all the current music now, right? They put out albums again now. So that's awesome. Love to see that.
The Exclusive Company was fun though. That was a cool place to hang out.
Yeah.
And nothing special. It was just racks of albums and just a great place. If I remember right, that would have sat right about where Copper Rock is now, right?
Yeah, somewhere near there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny. We talked, Jen and I kind of reminisced a little bit because, I mean, we're old enough to see the transition of the Avenue. The 70s, it was shopping, and the 80s, there was still shopping there. It was sort of a battle between the mall and downtown.
Absolutely.
But you're right. You had the Exclusive Company, but you'd go down there to Sears or JCPenney's or, Walgreens or whatever the case was. That the Army Surplus store. Remember that? That was, and
yes.
Ponds. We covered Ponds in an old look at new some time back too. I mean, it was those kind of shops that were, they were so awesome.
What was the store your dad worked at downtown?
Yeah, so I have downtown has always been really close to my heart. I mean, my dad worked downtown forever. He called himself an underwear salesman, but he was a suit salesman at Prangies, and he was a character. Yeah, definitely. It was where City Hall is right now. And he was a character. You know, I'm a head taller than him, and that's not saying a whole heck of a lot. But he had a big personality, huge laugh, and everybody loved him. And he was a great, suit salesman. So, but I forgot to say this to Jennifer, but one of the things I do miss downtown is I know there's a restaurant, kind of a diner restaurant. I've gone there and it's excellent, but I miss just that old fashioned diner. And Prangies used to have one right where that alley is, and that glass that used to be like almost like a figure eight-ish type, lunch counter. But everybody would go there. You could get a malt, you could get coffee, you could get ham and eggs. And I don't know. I miss a diner with great big windows, and I don't know. Maybe that's just nostalgia, but I feel like that's the one thing downtown needs. Yeah. How about a diner?
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. There used to be. Yeah. I remember that now that you say that. I don't know if I was ever in it, but I do remember that for sure.
Yeah.
Also, we used to have, there used to be department stores. Gimbals was another one, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
It's where the old, that's where Copper Leaf Hotel is now.
Yeah, Gimbals was, so you had where City Hall was Prangies, then to the east, and I can't remember what the development is, but if you kind of walk through what was the old mall at the other end of that, where I have a story for you in that building where Asco is located, that was Gimbals. If you went the other way where Park Central is, I think Park Central is either JCPenney's or Sears. And then a couple of buildings down was the opposite, JCPenney's or Sears. So, yeah, right. They were all there, and I'm not going to ruin the story because Jen tells it beautifully, but shout out to Earl, who I just have to update. You're going to hear me say when Jen and I talk about this that I have to put my big boy pants on and introduce myself to Earl. I did that since we recorded that interview, and I promised I would get Earl this, but when people are listening to the story that the Jen tells about Asco and why they came to downtown Appleton, it's really cool to hear. And I think it's exactly what we all hope that downtown Appleton is and is becoming. So shout out to Earl for bringing his whole crew to downtown Appleton, and hopefully they become big fans of the Newsa-Cast.
Yeah, and hopefully after this episode, people maybe will get downtown and support the local businesses and restaurants and bars and everything that that great area has to offer.
That's right. The rage is, Tosh, you put your earbuds in wherever you go and you listen to podcasts. So you listen to the Newsa-Cast, you go have yourself a drink, you go have yourself a little appetizer here, maybe a little taco there, right? We used to do the College Avenue crawl. Now I want to just eat my way down College Avenue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's probably, well, I don't know if it's any better for you, but
they both taste really good, but one makes me feel better now.
Exactly. Well, remember, you can always get these episodes too anywhere you get your podcasts, because we're always looking for new people to subscribe, new people to listen. So, Spotify, Apple, YouTube are great places.
So we have a YouTube page, the Newsa-Cast YouTube page. If nothing else, just subscribe to that, and you can see the Noosa Minute. You can see the Red Smith Banquet Throwbacks. That's really what we're most proud of. So we've had a lot of great history, and a lot of that history took place in downtown Appleton at the Paper Valley Hotel. So there's a lot of really cool interviews with video on YouTube, on the Newsa-Cast YouTube page. So go check that out, subscribe, and like, share, tell a friend, do it all. It helps us out.
All right, Newsa-Cast listeners, it's time for that little look at history that we like to do, where we take a look at, it could be Northeast Wisconsin, it could be all over the world, but this week we're going to take a look at Appleton. This is kind of an Appleton-centric podcast this week, so we've decided to take a look at Appleton instead of me looking at sports salaries or talking about the house that Ruth built. So Joe, what do you have to look at Appleton this week?
Well, one, Tosh, I'm just going to try to survive not hearing those stats. That's first. But second, so the interview with Jennifer Stephany coming up, you're going to hear talk about Appleton magic, Houdini magic, and I'm beginning to think it's real. And here's why I think it's real. So we all know Harry Houdini's from Appleton, and he claims it's his birthplace, even though he was technically born in Hungary. But he claims Appleton is his hometown, and we gladly accept him. And there's a lot of Houdini stuff throughout Appleton and the Fox City, so I'm not going to get into that. But what I am going to mention is, and this is where it relates to that, how could it be Houdini magic? Well, I think it maybe starts here where they have the official Houdini seance. It's held each year since he died in 1926. So every year since 1926, Houdini, he thought that if there was an afterlife, he'd have a way of contacting however that works. So they hold the seance, and they actually still continue to do it. Some place that has some significant connection to Houdini's life, which is pretty cool. His wife attended the next 10 years after his death until she passed away. But I can't help but think that maybe Houdini did find a way, and the way he expresses it is with that Houdini magic that Jennifer will explain to us here in a little bit. So that's my old look at new, Tosh.
All right.
How about you?
Well, I am going to go back to 1942. And in 1942, there was a structure built on College Avenue that was once one of the largest on the avenue. And that structure was the Bacall Building, which later became known for its 50-year run as the Viking Theater.
Oh, yeah.
And the Viking Theater, there's all kinds of history behind it. And one of the big things, the rumors and the stories is that it has like multiple basements.
Yeah.
And it's true that it does have two. But the theater actually opened in, let's see, the Viking Theater began its 50-year run in 1942, all the way to 1992. And then it became several nightclubs, Route 66,
remember that?
Wet, Luna Lounge.
Yeah.
And then obviously Hiro Nakashima bought the building in 2015 and renovated it to the new location of Katsuya in 2016. But, the big story is that it has that multiple basements and they tunnel all over the city. Well, there are two basements in it, but the entire structure is more than 60 feet tall, but half of it is underground.
Yeah, that's incredible. Man, that was one of the great theaters that was in Appleton. They're all
absolutely
gone now, but I remember distinctly, and I don't know what year this was. You might remember when The Empire Strikes Back came out. I remember going to the Viking and standing, up Division Street to get into the place. But yeah, that was just a class. They used to also have, that was the place where you'd go as a kid for Saturday afternoon, movies that probably, I don't know, quarter movies back in the day. I'm blanking on their names. What are their names? Curly and,
the Three Stooges.
Well, no, but yeah, those guys, a little bit after that. I'm not quite that old. I'm blanking, but yeah, we used Tim Conway, those kind of movies. He used to have the Saturday afternoon movies. So
sure,
yeah,
I remember going there to see a Rocky double feature.
Oh yeah, double feature.
Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah,
that's the big song, and that was a classic building. I mean, there's some other stuff in Appleton that's really cool with all the ravines and stuff. I mean, you go all the way back to the 1800s, and the Fox River had tons of tributaries off of the river.
Yeah.
And all the ravines that make up Appleton are part of that. But little Joe, did you know that the current post office is basically built on a garbage dump that the city actually, and they had to put in a air release system because of all the garbage, and they're afraid of the methane smell and stuff?
Yeah. Gosh, there's a lot there that I could pick apart, but yes, I did realize at one time there was garbage under the post office, and
that's how. In fact, I read something about that's how they made the streets level, is by encouraging people to throw garbage and basically dirt and everything into the ravines, which is too bad because it would be kind of a cool feature, but probably good for not flooding houses and things like that as well. But yeah, kind of interesting. There's a lot of history people don't know about in Appleton.
I expect all my fellow letter carriers that listen to this podcast to applaud me for the restraint that I am now currently showing.
Very nice.
Thank you, Tosh. Though that was a good old look at new. We hope you enjoyed the segment, and on with the show. All right, folks. we have a terrific conversation coming up. Tosh wasn't able to join me, but I had a chance to sit down and have one of the most wonderful conversations I've ever had with the executive director of Appleton Downtown Inc., ADI, Jennifer Stephany. I had so much fun. I learned so much. It was a super easy conversation. And best of all, I learned that Houdini magic is real. And hopefully by the end of this conversation, you too will believe that same thing. So please enjoy this terrific conversation with Jennifer Stephany. More than anything, the first thing I just wanted to tell you was literally thank you for setting the vibe in Appleton. We had Dave Willems on about a month ago, and literally you guys set the vibe for Appleton. It's, like I told you before, I grew up in Appleton, so I've had 50 plus years to kind of see how Appleton ebbs and flows, and I love where Appleton is right now. And you two, just the events, what you guys do, what you give us to enjoy is just, thank you is really what I want to say first and foremost.
That's so cool. Well, thank you. It's been really an honor and a privilege to get a chance to serve this community. I've been in my role for 21 years, if you can believe that. I don't know where that time went.
It's nuts.
But it's been just an amazing journey, and the collaborations that happen in this community, the generosity that surrounds that is just remarkable. And I always say there's just that little bit of Appleton magic. Tip my hat to Harry Houdini there, right?
Yes.
Like there's a little bit of Appleton magic that gets inserted into these projects that just make it blossom and successful. It's really cool.
That is kind of a real thing, isn't it? And maybe it did start with Harry, because it's like that with almost everything. Dave talked about it with Mile. I'm sure you're going to give us examples. We had Otis on from the parades. It's when we, for some reason, come up with Appleton collectively has just whatever they do, whatever they set their mind to, it's just literally the best, and everybody supports it. And I know it's hard work and all that, but it seems like it's different than other places. And maybe it is that Harry Houdini magic.
I think there's something to that. I really do. And it's our work ethic.
Maybe
here, people and our passion for the community. My sister recently moved to the area, and she said to me the other night, she goes, "Wow, man, people really love Appleton." Yeah. I said, you kind of get, and really the whole Fox Cities, I shouldn't just say Appleton, because, it runs deep here, and we're blessed to have a region that just has this heartbeat throughout the whole thing. And it's just really cool and incredible.
If you talk specifically downtown, in the 70s, it was the shopping mecca. You had everybody came to Appleton for that. And then the mall came and it kind of went away. And in the 90s, the Performing Arts Center is built. You kind of have entertainment. Things maybe dry up. And now the residential boom is incredible. That's got to be exciting for you to begin with. But it's nuts to see. I can't believe all the beautiful buildings going up.
It's really cool. In the last, and it hasn't been in a very long time frame, right? We're talking about a really short time frame that so much has developed. I was just looking at the numbers. It's 487 confirmed units that are either in construction or proposed and have development agreements for future development. And you kind of have to think about, okay, well, where did we start from? That just about doubles the number of units that we've had down here. And really that's been since, I'll say 2019, when kind of those first units started to open, but really 2020. So in a very short amount of time, we have seen a large number of new units, and that level of investment in our district is just off the charts.
Oh, it's got to be. And it has to make your work exciting, right? That's what thousands of people are moving into your home.
Yeah, definitely. It's yes, exciting. Yes, we want to make sure that we can keep up and meet the need, and we start to think a little bit deeper about things like cleanliness and resident amenities and safety and lighting and walkability
Parklets.
and beautification. You know, all of those. There are lots of layers to the work that we do, and when it all comes together, that's when great things happen.
So we see all those things. We easily just say ADI without even thinking about it. But what is ADI? I mean, can you tell me the story of ADI? When did it start? What is ADI exactly, other than
Sure.
a super cool vibe setting unit?
We're a group of just really hardworking people. No, so Appleton Downtown Incorporated grew out of what I would call a business association. And in 1991, a very dedicated group of small business owners in our community and some community leaders that really rallied around the concept of forming an association that could take the work further. So ADI since about 1991, and then as we grew and began to take on more and more projects, the Business Improvement District was approved by the city council and, of course, the property owners within our district. So that created, I'm going to say, like another layer or arm of our work and provided a sustainable funding source. So the Business Improvement District is like a self-taxing entity within our central business district. And the properties are assessed based on their assessed value. They have to be a commercial or a mixed use building. So no residential. Would be no 100% residential, let me rephrase that, would be assessed within the district. But if it's a mixed use property, then yes, it would be. And those dollars then are collected by the city, and we can get reimbursed for some of the work that we do. And I can get into what some of those layers look like.
Yeah.
But to go even deeper, then in 2015, we formed a 501c3 organization and really focused in on creating art in the public realm and pulling in cultural events and experiences within the downtown. So you begin to kind of stack those layers of work and an opportunity really to leverage funding sources and collaborative partners and volunteers to be able to put the level of work plan together that we have.
So do you think back in 91, I know you weren't here then, but that was maybe 5-6 years after the mall's built. So downtown probably has desperate times at that time. Is this the vision, kind of what they were thinking back then, that let's reinvigorate downtown, and this is kind of how it's going to look, and you kind of morph? I
sure hope so.
Yeah.
I hope we took it even further than what they were imagining. But I really do, because you think about creating the events that draw, creating the promotions, doing the image marketing, big part of what we do.
Yeah.
And then the built environment around us, and how do we make sure that it's accessible and it's walkable and parking is affordable and accessible, and that we have that business mix that's going to continue to draw. And that, of course, ebbs and flows throughout the years, and we've seen businesses come and go. Breaks my heart every single time.
Yeah.
But we know that that's the evolution of an urban core.
Yeah, I would imagine. But you don't think about that, but you build relationships with everybody down there, and it's got to be tough for sure. But at the same time, I'm sure a big part of your job is recruiting, retention. That's got to be super exciting on the other end when somebody new comes in and just starts, being successful and just out there and part of the community, part of downtown.
Without a doubt. I think I've shed lots of tears. I'm not afraid to say that. I still to this day, I'm walking into some of the businesses that early part of my career. I'm going to give a shout out to Copper Rock Coffee Company. They were one of the first businesses that I had a chance to work with. and help them kind of navigate with City Hall, and they were still in development when I came in. So it was really cool to be able to work with new business owners right from the get-go and to see them flourish the way they have, and of course expand throughout our Fox Cities region, but the downtown still strong. So it's really cool.
No, absolutely. You know, I'm fascinated by events, and I know that's certainly what you're known for. I'm always curious, especially somebody, you know, with your success and just your resume. How do ideas come to you? I mean, do they form relatively quickly? How do ideas pop into your head? How do you form events?
Oh my goodness. This is such a creative community. A lot of times those ideas are coming to us. Just today, I've had conversations on 2 new, I'm going to say like event concepts, and how could we collaborate with them? So not necessarily events that we would own or run, but events that other community members are looking to bring to the downtown corridor, and how can we help guide them and potentially be a partner in that? So those ideas just kind of keep flowing. We certainly watch trends around the country and really around the world. And I'll use night market as a great example.
Yeah.
Night markets blossoming in most communities, especially throughout Wisconsin and communities of our size. We're kind of like, okay, it's our time, right? Milwaukee's got them, Madison's got them, and now, you know, Green Bay has done such tremendous things with their night market. And we were very cautious about stepping into that arena with Bazaar After Dark, and they come moving around the district, or around the Fox Cities. So when they said that they were no longer going to produce Bazaar, we were really excited about stepping in and saying, hey, you know, we'd really like to do this. Are you okay with that? And, you know, we got the tip of the hat, and we said, all right, let's go. We were able to put our spin on it and give it a little downtown flavor. Really fun. And we had 2, actually 3 of them this year, if you count in our holiday version, but one in May, one in July, and then one in November.
I can't imagine how organized you guys have to be to just have multiple events. How many events do you do a year?
This year we'll do about, I think it's 62.
Okay.
62, 64 events. And that includes, you know, each Saturday when we're hosting farm market, the Thursday concert series, the walk events. We manage logistics on the parades. And those are ones that we own. Of course, we partner in on a number of other events like Mile of Music and Oktoberfest, you know, owned by the Chamber. So there's always an opportunity to engage, but we do about 62.
I don't know if this is a dumb question or not, but somebody like Dave Williams comes to you and it says, hey, Jennifer, I have this idea. It's called Mile of Music. And he kind of drops that on your plate like that. All of a sudden then becomes part of your life just out of the blue.
Oh, my God. I remember that day like it was yesterday. Dave, I hope you're listening. And I went, well, you're talking about like a year from now, right, Dave? And he's like, no, I mean like in months from now. And right? And it just keeps getting better and better and better. You know, talk about putting downtown Appleton on the map.
Yes.
I mean, that event was somewhat of a game changer for us in so many ways. And we've learned so much from the Mile of Music team, and so much that they have committed to not only elevating their brand, but elevating our brand. Right. As a community and as a downtown. So it's been a real privilege to work alongside of that team.
It's Harry Houdini's magic, right? Bringing those two things together.
Magic.
Yes.
I'm telling you.
You are telling me.
That's real.
I'm believing it. I'm believing it.
Are you drinking the Kool-Aid?
I am.
Are you with me?
I am. I love Kool-Aid. If you ever have downtime and you're out traveling, you're Door County or whatever, and you stumble across a farmer's market, can you enjoy yourself when you're in that environment? Or are you always just the brain just going and you're saying we should do this or not do that?
Yes, and no. So my husband was recently downloading photos from my phone, and he had to just stop and laugh and point out to me the weird stuff on my phone. He goes, "Here's a picture of a garbage can, and here's what I think is graffiti. This is there's a curb line that has a crack in it." Like, I'm taking pictures all the time. And even when I'm in other communities, of course, I'm like, oh my gosh, that signage is great. And then I have people when they travel, like friends and family, and they'll send me pictures. I have a high level leader in our community, and when he travels, I'll get an envelope with just like either a paper printout of something cool or an article, and I'm like, okay, inspiration.
Yes. But you guys have, like, even the graffiti, you guys have implemented that. I mean, the murals that are on these buildings, even on like the power boxes or the street light boxes there. I mean, that stuff is awesome. And it just, you don't realize how much you needed it in the community until it's there, and just how cool it is.
We absolutely agree with that statement. We call those like, it's those sticky moments. It's that unexpected creative burst when you run into a mural, or you chase the melody of a street musician, or the twinkle of the fairy lights across the College Avenue. And those are the moments that make you stop and say, wow, this is somewhere special.
Oh, yeah. That's got to be the best part of the job, right? Is just those moments.
Oh, by far.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. When you get to that kind of midpoint of a major event and things are kind of humming and moving along, and you can see the faces of the people around you, and people are going in and out of the shops, and they're supporting the local economy, and you say, yep, that's why we do what we do.
Oh, yeah.
It's all good.
You know, I asked Dave this question, and I want to ask you as well. So after a big event, whether it's the farmer's market, whatever, I mean, how do you unwind, say the night of, and maybe the next morning? Like, how, or do you even unwind? Your schedule is nuts, so maybe you don't have time, but.
Not a lot of time to unwind. I am so grateful to have the team that I have, and they are amazing, and they divide and conquer, and they get it done. We come together the next morning, and we debrief right away, of course, and talk about the good and talk about the bad, and what are we going to do different, and then we talk about the next.
Yes.
Next. So there's not a ton of downtime, but that's okay. I mean, we kind of crafted it that way.
So you pull those moments then, I guess, in those reflection times, right? When you're sitting there overlooking the crowd, that's really when it becomes, okay, this is when it's worth it. This is why I do it.
For sure.
Yeah.
100%. And really the events are just one piece of the work that we do. And, you know, there are lots of those kind of layered moments of, you walk into a new business that opens, or you read the news about a world headquarters moving into your downtown, and you start thinking about all the work that's come up to that point, and that we've just kept building on the work and the improvements and the enhancements. And we're now at that point of some pretty deep investment in our community, and that level of commitment of bringing employees back and renovating buildings and building residential. And it's pretty remarkable, really.
Absolutely. What is when we talk about ADI, I guess, what is your footprint? I mean, is it,
Sure.
I think it's like Poplar Hall down in that area. Do you consider that part of your domain, like the stuff around the library? What would be the footprint of ADI?
Yeah, again, there's kind of those layers to it, right? So the Business Improvement District has very set boundaries based on the assessment list that's created by the city. And then there's what I would call the Central Business District that kind of expands a little bit beyond that. And then there's like the greater downtown area. And yes, definitely we work with a ton of riverfront businesses, and we're a partner in the trolley to really try to get that kind of mobility and access and getting people to move around the district more. We have lots of support on the riverfront, and quite honestly, we'd like to do more in that space. And as we see more and more businesses open and more attraction points, we're a stronger destination when we can all work together on it. So I know there's been conversation about, well, riverfront events and when is that going to roll into the mix? And we've got some ideas. I'm just going to say that. There's some really good ideas.
I don't doubt that for 1 second. One of my favorite venues that popped up, and I've gone to 3 shows there now at Poplar Hall, and I cannot believe that the national groups, I saw Yonder Mountain String Band there the other night, and it's an awesome venue. The sound is incredible, really, really cool building, and it's a hidden gem.
Oh, absolutely. The whole River Heath development is really, well, first of all, it's beautiful, right? It sits on the river bay there, and it is just gorgeous. And it's very well thought out. And anybody who has that passion for environment, the way that developer did, Mark Giel, he really wanted to showcase the riverfront and bring something special to downtown. Adding the music venue was on his wish list from early on. So, and I can remember talking with Mark about it and where it would fit and doing the shows and being able to open the doors. And, there were some other ideas that float around, an ice rink and some other cool stuff. So who knows what's coming next down there. But he curates a very high level performance. And if you haven't seen a show there yet, check it out.
The shows that he's bringing in, these are national groups. They tour nationally. And I cannot believe, because Appleton is, we're not really near anything. It may be, we're 2 hours north of Milwaukee or whatever. It's kind of tough for them to get here, but to get groups like Yonder and Dark Star Orchestra and things like that, it blows my mind that they're coming up here. And we talked to Dave about it too, that Nashville tie. It's so cool to have music be a part of everything. It's getting stitched into what we are. And we've always been a sports town for sure, but music's our soul, I hope.
Ooh, I love that. Yes. I think you hit that right on the head. Music is definitely a piece of our soul. And you're right. It's that tapestry that kind of weaves us together. And, each one of those stitches is really a unique experience. And it can be music, and it could be theater, and it could be spoken word, and it could be visual arts. We're so blessed to have all of that downtown.
I love art so much, and I know you'd mentioned earlier that you're involved with art through Appleton downtown. Is that the biggest criticism that you receive, is just the artwork? Are people critical of it? I always laugh at it because nobody ever gives it a chance. I live kind of close to, remember that one statue that was right by the College Avenue Bridge, made out of propane tanks? I kind of liked it. It wasn't out my front window, but I kind of liked it. But everybody just hates it right away. And I feel for you. I'm wondering if you get that backlash initially and then it grows on everybody.
Well, a lot of the large scale sculptures came out of Sculpture Valley, another nonprofit organization that we have the privilege to benefit from and work alongside. And I think they got the first hit, right? And then we kind of got pulled into that conversation as well. And art can be a tricky thing, especially when you're talking about art in the public realm. Art in the public realm is for so much more than just beautification. It's about striking up a dialogue or inspiring imagination. And it can be about inclusion and being a more welcoming community. It can take on so many facets of the community. So we have to be kind of open-minded to, there's going to be some criticism sometimes. And, I have to just kind of say, that's got to be okay. It's got to be okay.
Yes.
And as a community, we're pretty well-rounded community that we can have those conversations. I think that's really important.
There's always a few people we have to educate, but you're correct.
Yeah.
So music, obviously, we've talked a ton about it, and there's no better night in the summer than a Thursday night to go down to Jones Park or even Houdini Plaza in years past. Yeah. What is it like to put that on? How do you pick the lineup? How do you what's your day like? There's thousands of people there. It has to be. I'm sure it's clockwork for you guys, but can you speak to just kind of how that day unfolds for you?
Yeah, for sure. Well, the planning starts in December, and we start talking about lineup interests and come together with our booking agent that we've been working with for years and years and years, since probably day one. And we go through the lineup from the last probably 4 or 5 years, and we say, all right, well, who are the must-haves?
Right.
There's always those. And what's new? Who can we bring in that's going to be new and exciting? And we have a few of those this year. I can't quite release that out of the bag yet, but
even if I stop recording.
Right. We're going to try something new this year on one of those Thursdays, and we're really excited about it. I'd love to get your feedback. As always, we want to try to reach a wide range of music lovers and enthusiasts. So we're hoping we can hit some new notes.
I love
See
it.
what I did there?
I saw what you did. Very nice. Well done.
But the setup, to get back to kind of like what's that day like, here's where I have to just give props to my team and the volunteers. An event like that takes, I'm going to do a quick count. It's about 24 people that make that event hum every Thursday night. And I don't know how I got so lucky, but I have this dedicated crew of about 30 people that have been with me, some of them since we started that series, which I think was 2006, maybe. So it's been a long time running, and they come every week. Like
so every Thursday, you can count on these folks to do sling beer, whatever. Wow.
Yes. It's remarkable.
How do you do that? I mean, how do you do that?
You take good care of them, right? Like, and make sure you're appreciating them. Make sure they have a good time.
Yeah.
If they're not having a good time, they're not going to come back, right? So we make it a fun environment, and many hands make light work. So we make sure that we're well staffed. Obviously, nights when we have some of those bigger bands, you don't rest much. It's pretty constant.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have a party with everybody at the end of the season. Actually host that party at my home. And bring all the volunteers to my home. Everybody brings a dish. And,
that's awesome.
That's community. That's that Appleton magic.
Yeah, absolutely. Salute Harry.
Right?
Maybe that is the secret sauce is taking care of the volunteers. It's one of the subjects we touch on especially when we talk to youth, sports groups and things like that. They're always fighting for volunteers, and you hit it on the head. Take care of them. Make it a fun environment. I mean, I like to have fun. Maybe I'll volunteer.
Absolutely. Come on down. I got a spot for you.
Oh, I would love to. And I should. I really should. It's
and you get a t-shirt.
Oh, well then I'm in.
Right? Doesn't that just make it all better?
Oh, totally. Yes. T-shirts make everything better. Right. So circling back to ADI, and I know you said the different spokes on the stool, or the different legs on the stool. The Creative Appleton component, is that now that's relatively new, right? Is spoke, I guess, so to speak?
Yeah, we formed the 501c3 it was late 2015.
Oh, okay.
And they started to take on that art piece, the creative environment piece, cultural performance, and really dove into how can we enhance the built environment to make it more welcoming, more inclusive, more representative of our community. So the project that we did first that you had mentioned earlier was the traffic control boxes. Still to this day, probably one of my favorite art projects that I have had an opportunity to be a part of. And we worked with the Appleton Area School District art teachers, and we brought in representatives from cultural organizations to share images, textiles, art, color, talk about what art means in their culture. And we spent a couple hours together and just talked about it. And then the teachers went back to their classroom and engaged the students in creating artwork. And we had them photographed and made into the clings that go on the traffic control boxes. It took a little longer than we expected to get the project done, but what a great result. like
love
way
that.
better than I ever would have imagined.
Oh, I would imagine to get the kids involved like that too. It's
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that stuff so much. What else do you guys in particular with that group have in mind? What else can we expect in the future
Ooh.
besides Harry Houdini magic?
Right. Well, the night market events are really a great opportunity for us to showcase some of the talent in our community and embrace that. And we have a new project with the Appleton Area School District. One teacher in particular that's working on some large scale sculptures that we're really excited about. Of course, we're looking to partner again with local artist Neo Medina on Paint the City 3 in downtown. So keep an eye on that. So another large scale mural, again, Appleton Area School District students involved in that project. Very large mural creation. Takes about 2.5 weeks to paint the full thing. And it's going to be pretty remarkable. So we're excited about those two particular projects. And we'd like to bring our parklet back. It's going to move around this year, probably pop up in a different spot.
Yes.
We have the ice carvings coming up next. So that's going to be February 24th. And well, they go out on the 23rd. And then we hope that the weather cooperates and they're there for that Saturday as well, because we also have our pop-up winter market that same day. So February 24th is going to be a really cool day to move around the district and experience.
Oh, absolutely. The pop-up winter market, I saw that. So what is that exactly? What can we expect?
So typically this would be the time of year that we'd be hosting market vendors inside the city center building. Of course, with the Fox Commons project and they're under construction, we didn't have an opportunity to do that. So we were ready to shelf it. And a couple of my board members said, hold on, why don't we try this? And let's see if some of the businesses would host vendors within their space. So we put the ask out and we had great response, both from businesses and vendors within our community. And we were able to kind of stitch it together and we gave it a shot. So we did one in January already and we've got the one in February and then we'll have one more at the end of March.
No, I love it. What year number is this going to be for the parklet? I think I can remember all the locations.
That's a really good question.
I love the parklet so much.
4? This will be our 4th season.
So you were on State Street, you were on Washington. I forgot where were you?
We were State Street 2 years.
Oh, you were? Okay.
One on one side of the street, and then we moved to the west side of the street, and then we were on Washington. So
I love that so much, that little, I'd like to see more of them. Do people use them, do you think? I mean, I've seen people in there periodically.
We did see people using them. I think the Washington Street location was heavily used on Saturdays. So farm market goers, we saw lots of people stopping with their coffee and their egg rolls and their ham pies and having a little sit down, especially with with kids and families. So that was a really nice addition to that end of town where it had been on the west end for a couple of years. So I don't know, we actually haven't explored a new spot yet.
All righty.
So let me know what ideas you have.
I will. I'll think about it as I'm delivering mail. So it's
perfect.
I have time to think. Isn't that going to be an amazing area, the library area, in a couple of years? I cannot believe the growth and it's going to look so different in 2 years.
It's going to look very different. And, the rise, housing development is on the rise. And of course, the library is in construction. There's a future project that could happen with the transit, the Urbane 115 housing development that's right behind the Fox Commons building. That one is actually already starting to occupy. They're at about 27% occupancy already. So we're really starting to see what the city would call the College North neighborhood.
Yeah.
And they did that plan about 1.5 years ago, and it's already starting to work. We're already seeing interest in development and new opportunities within that whole corridor. So it's really an expansion opportunity for downtown.
Maybe it's just me, but I remember them talking about that. And then you're right. Now, all of a sudden it's happening. You have all those new buildings up on Oneida Street and obviously the library. And it just explodes out of nowhere. Is it moving super quick or is that Is it normal? It's kind of, I don't know.
No, I don't know if I can answer that because I know a lot of work happened kind of leading up to it. So I think from a city perspective, when you think about the whole planning process, and a lot of people roll their eyes at, another plan, the city's investing in another plan. But you know what? Those plans work.
Yeah.
They work. They give us a guideline and give us information to share with developers. That's why it works. That's why they invest in them. And it makes good sense.
That's really good that you explained that, because I'm pretty sure most people don't know that or even understand. And it's so easy to just say you're wasting money, but wow, to actually see it in motion, I love that. Do you ever see a day that Amtrak comes up here? Do you think we'll ever have train service, or is that just a pipe dream?
It's a great dream. I love that dream.
I love the train.
There's a lot of conversation about rail in Wisconsin. So
yeah, just
good dream.
It is. I love the pipe dream. So circling all the way back to ADI, how are you guys funded? I'm sure you always can use donations, things like that. How do you make it all go from a financial standpoint?
Great question. Some days I'm not really sure either.
I try to ask the cutting edge.
Right. Back to the different arms and kind of layering of our work, the Business Improvement District kind of providing that one layer of work. And it's about 30% of our funding comes from the special assessments within the Business Improvement District. So those dollars are really dedicated towards business recruitment. We have a business recruitment grant program, a facade grant program. We do a lot, like I had mentioned earlier, in the image marketing category, and a lot of those dollars are invested there. Clean, safe, and friendly, making sure that downtown is clean and it has flowers and there are banners. That's all part of that budget as well. And then there's the event revenue. So we've been very blessed to have our events become what we call sustaining events. Things like the farm market and the concerts really help us provide a level of funding that help us to be able to afford having an office and internet and employees and all of those good things. And then there's, of course, a level of what I'll call membership and investment into the organization. A lot of that does revolve around sponsorship of events, but we do have businesses that just want to see downtown succeed, and they're willing to invest in us with a membership, let's say. And we have 3-star supporters that I'm so excited to be able to say yes. The 3 have said yes. And that's our friends with ASCO, who now reside here in downtown Appleton. Renewal by Anderson, who's one of our very first star supporters. And new to the game is Fox Communities Credit Union.
Nice.
As one of our star supporters. So you'll see them at all of our events, and they really give us that flexibility and level of investment that let us do what we do.
I know ASCO is a pretty special story for downtown. I mean, can you tell that story about how they came to downtown Appleton?
So we had been able to work with ASCO for a number of years prior to them moving downtown. They were a star support, a concert supporter first, and then it kind of grew and grew, and they reached that star level, and they said, you know what, we just keep hearing from our employees that they love downtown. And when they were searching for a new home, I know they looked at a lot of options, and they loved the environment of downtown and what that brings to their employee base. It's a special place to be able to park once, walk to lunch, to services, to experiences, to hear live music, and just be a part of an energy within a community. And that was really something special. Not to mention that there's access to parking, covered parking for employees. That's huge. They were able to create a beautiful space. It is really nice. It's something special.
That's really cool. Is that Earl? Is Earl the?
It is
Yes.
Earl. Yeah.
So I need to put the big boy pants on and say hi to him. Earl. I don't know if Earl listens to podcasts, but shout out to him. I see him every morning at Crunch. He kicks it every morning in the classes, doing the HIT classes. So that dude is a workout warrior. So shout out Earl.
Well, that is outstanding. Earl Chincat, you're our hero today.
Yes. And I will say hi to you. He refers to me as Chris's friend with the crazy hair. So I love that. Yeah, me too.
That's good.
You mentioned, I know we briefly touched on it, but how do you recruit business? I mean, it almost seems like it was just conversations and just you being you and your group being your group and with ASCO that kind of made that happen. But how do you do business recruitment? What goes into that?
There are a lot of people that work way harder at business recruitment in this community than I do. The commercial real estate folks that represent the properties down here, wow, just outstanding. And they are able to tell the story. And when I can, I tag along or provide them information because we can go a little bit deeper about that story and about the neighborhood. It's probably one of my favorite parts of my job is being able to go on a potential new business visit and go along on a walkthrough, say, of a property that they might be looking at and be able to talk about the connectivity of our neighborhood and what it looks like, feels like, some days even smells like to be downtown.
Yes.
You get that waft of roasting coffee beans.
The best.
Right? It's this full layered experience. So it really does, when they say it takes a village, business recruitment takes a village. From the city of Appleton to the real estate agents to the Chamber of Commerce. Sometimes when we're doing business visits, all of those folks are together and it's a real collaborative effort.
I mean, you kind of, I guess that's sort of what ADI is in general. I mean, you guys are that glue. So you're able to, you can sell the vision, right? I mean, I love that. You need, that's almost got to be the deal closer. When you just can lay out the story like that, you can just, it becomes you can feel it.
The storyology is pretty important to who we are and what we've created downtown. We recently did some work along the lines of storyology, along with another downtown business, A to Z Design, and we dove in a little bit and we started to think about all the different audiences that our stories touch and that we need to make sure that we're representing that wide range of audiences in our image marketing. So it's, again, kind of that layered work of making sure that we're including everybody and we're recruiting new residents and new businesses and visitors. We work side by side with the Convention and Visitors Bureau often as well. Of course, our partners at the Fox Cities Performing Arts Center, the Trout Museum of Art, the Building for Kids, right? We have all these amazing destinations down here that really add to the depth of that story.
The Fox Valley Convention Bureau, they bring in some crazy events too, don't they? The axe throwing one. I love that.
Did you see that? Did you come down and see it? It was remarkable. Oh. And what was cool is they were here during the time that we were hosting our holiday event in Houdini. So we connected with our friends at Appleton Axe and said, hey, bring the trailer down. We'll tell the story. We'll let people know that you're down here. And we've had an opportunity to work with them several times and they're just outstanding. So they have the mobile axe throwing unit that it's just really cool.
Oh my God. Who doesn't want to throw axes?
It's safe.
Yes.
It's safe.
Safe for anybody.
Right. But the axe throwing, the whole competition was remarkable. And we love to hear the feedback either at the end or even months after when they're getting feedback from their convention goers. And we typically hear the same thing. They're surprised. They're surprised by how walkable we are, how much we have to offer, how safe they felt, and what a great time they had, of course.
Absolutely. You've mentioned it numerous times, and I should just know this, but it really is a walkable downtown. It's a walkable city, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, we're very linear. in downtown. As we're talking about the riverfront growth and College North growth, that's going to ebb and flow, and that's going to change and expand for sure. But right now, when you talk about like sight lines, when you're traveling to a community that you've never been before, to be able to see where your hotel is down the street, that means a lot to somebody's safety. We work in, like I said, a lot of different areas, talking a lot about safety right now in downtown and the community at large, and what that means in our neighborhood. When we look at lighting and traffic cameras and individual businesses, and it's really cool when the business owners are coming to you to say, how can we be part of the solution? And that's that level of collaboration that we're able to foster.
I love that. Every podcast we have a segment called An Old Look at New, where we just kind of find just something to talk about. And one of them was the angels, the Avenue of Angel lights. And because I'm old, I forgot the lady's name that went to you at one time.
Frances.
Yes, Frances. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I probably didn't do that story justice, but could you talk about her? Because that has always been part of Appleton. Are the lights? I mean, people. I mean, it's an attraction. Could you talk about her and just the Avenue of Lights? I love them.
I'm trying to remember what year that was. I don't have that in my brain right now, but I'll never forget that phone call. And it was one of those calls where you go, did I hear you right? We were working on renovating the angels, both the pole angels and the intersection. And I should call them trumpeters. They get called lots of things, but Avenue of Angels is kind of how people know them. And we were kind of selling them one at a time. And then I got the call that Frances wanted to help. And I said, great, are you thinking one or two? She said, no, I don't think you understand. We want help with all of them. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you right. So, talk about just blown away by the philanthropic generosity of this community, and they still hold her name to this day, which is amazing. They probably need some new garland, but we'll get to that.
Yes.
So that was that moment where I thought, man, this place is something special, because that was early on in my time here with ADI. So that was a really special time, and Frances continues to be an angel for us.
You got me thinking on the smells still of downtown. As a letter carrier, I love it when I get to do the College Avenue loops, because you can literally, the 600 block is sushi and the 500 block is Italian, and I just love that so much. And the 200 block is whatever, Katsuya. It's just the restaurants and the smells are just next level.
It's part of the experience.
It is.
Same with farm market. When you walk through farm market, you expect to smell the kettle corn, and you want to have that kind of full immersive experience. And smell is part of that.
So for you guys,
I hope it's not bad smell.
Oh my! It never. We
really try.
Yes. 100 years ago when we had horses, maybe a different story, but.
Maybe a little different.
The farmers market, it's probably what you guys are most well known for, if maybe Thursday night, not sure, but that thing has just exploded. It's expanded. It's again, that's an event and an attraction. One, I suppose it's like clockwork for you, but there's always got to be thought, right? And just that's always evolving. It got me thinking about just the little smells. Are you guys going into detail of the popcorn machine should be here and the street musicians should be here? Is that all part of what goes into it?
Sort of, because you have to think about spacing of food vendors, where the lines are going to intersect. You have to think about enough cooking space and power. So the food placement really has to happen first in a farm market, in most events, just because you have to make sure that you're able to manage the infrastructure that they need. And then, of course, music, because you don't want to cross sound between block to block. So where the musicians are set is another kind of piece of that layout. Where the toilets are, how the people flow, where the hard barricades go, how do we get in and out? If I need to get an ambulance in, how do we maneuver that? So you really do have to think about all the different levels of infrastructure.
It's not easy being an event planner, is it?
No, it's not.
But it's literally one of the best jobs ever, isn't it?
It's a pretty cool job, and it's, again, that my team is just remarkable. And I have folks that we're able to work with and collaborate with that really get it. And I can't stress enough the importance of the relationship we have with the city of Appleton to make those events happen. It doesn't happen without that partnership and that collaboration and that flexibility for us to be able to use things like a city street and to be able to put barricades and close off, a major roadway in our community. So I can't thank the mayor and his team enough for all that they do for us. It's really, really vital.
And that is a misconception I'm sure a lot of people have, is that they think that you are part of the city, and that is not the truth at all.
Right. Yeah. I probably should have started with that. I usually open with that line. We're not technically a part of the city. We are a separate nonprofit organization. However, our work crosses over so often with so many of the different departments. I had a meeting yesterday. I had 3 department heads in a room and 2 alderpersons. So you have to keep those connections. And again, I can't stress how absolutely critical it is that they're open to working with us and willing to guide us and give us an opportunity to create these experiences in our community.
That's neat to hear. It's pleasing to hear. You see the results. I mean, we've said it 100 times. There's no better downtown than what we have going here. One last question. Is there anything just downtown? Do you have a wish list of what you'd like to see maybe over the next couple of years, 5 years, something like that?
I don't think anybody is going to be surprised when I say a grocery store.
Yeah.
Because we talk about it probably every week in our office. We have, of course, our partners at the city and the Fox Cities Chamber of Commerce talking about that as well. And it really is at the top of our wish list right now. And we want to be able to serve the residents and make sure that they have access to food like that. That's really a critical element. And as we talk about kind of the nature of an urban core and living in a downtown district, you're going to want to walk to get groceries, but that grocery store also has to have drive up traffic. So it's a really fine balance of finding the right location, the right size, and it's all about the operator and the routing.
Taking everything out of consideration, is there an ideal-ish location for it downtown? I mean, would it be Richmond Street? Would it be more central? Any thoughts?
We would aim for something that's a little more central, and this is me just kind of
it's a safe
talking
space.
off the top of my head. Yeah, right. I'm going to get phone calls after this area. As we looked at the College North plan, we see some opportunity within that plan, and there certainly could be something there. We've also looked at some of the College Avenue space and said, you know what, this has some real potential. So we've got to get creative with the parking and the drive up kind of pickup solution as well. So it's going to take some maneuvering, and it's probably a few years down the road, but if anybody out there listening runs a grocery store, come on down.
Yeah, come on down.
Come on down.
Do you still catch grief for the traffic patterns downtown, or is everybody well adjusted?
Lane reconfiguration. Yeah. We can talk about that. Actually, it's been very positive for the most part. I mean, we still hear a little bit about some of the turning delays, And of course, there's more what they call green time on College Avenue now, which makes, if you're crossing College from a side street, your wait is a little bit longer. But that is very strategic. Eric Lawn, the traffic engineer at the city, is a very smart man, knows exactly what he's doing with this. And they had some tweaking they had to do when everything kind of first laid out. But hopefully you hear from your listeners as well. But we see it flowing pretty well.
It does. I like it. It doesn't bother me. But this is coming from, and this might fall under too much information, but the Newsa-Cast listeners know that I bike everywhere. In 2023, I did not put 1 gallon of gas in my car. I biked everywhere. So,
What?
Yeah, totally, for real.
That's amazing.
Yeah, well, either that or it's just a sad state of where I am in life. One of the two. I don't know, but I kind of like biking.
That's a great story for our community to tell, quite honestly.
No,
well, I hope
I
you
love
tried
it.
out our new bike lanes.
Well, I
then.
do, but I have a question for you on the bike lanes
Sure.
downtown.
Yeah.
So I'm biking downtown. I'm going westbound downtown, and I want to go have sushi. How do I turn left?
Okay.
Do I have to stop at the stoplight and walk my bike across the street? Or it was really, really hard to turn left from the
Yeah.
bike lane, trying to figure it
I'll
out.
ask Eric a question. I'll get back to you.
Okay.
But please be careful, obviously.
Oh, I will.
We hear often that the safety feature of the new lane reconfiguration is very well received. So when you're parking your vehicle and now you have that bike lane kind of cushion when you're exiting your vehicle, so you're not exiting right alongside, directly adjacent to moving traffic, has been another benefit.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to throw that out there. But the bike lanes, I see your point about the turning.
It's not a big deal. It's just a question. I love the bike lanes. In fact, I know that's probably, everybody complains about them, but there are some great bike lanes like John Street. You can get from downtown all the way out to, Calumet, and it's an awesome bike lane. I use it every day. It's I love it going across the bridges. They're all, I love that it's a biker friendly city, and you can bike year round. They invented fat tires for us up here, so we're good to go.
Absolutely. Do you rock some fat tires?
I rock some fat tires. First time this year,
Nice.
my new fat tire. The wheels light
Okay,
up.
you need to wear what do they call it? It's a GoPro camera, man. Get some biking footage for me.
You're the perfect person to tell this story to. And I got totally lucky, but my favorite downtown biking experience, it was the Friday of Oktoberfest when all the cars are lined up. I took a half a day that day from I'm a letter carrier. So I left the post office and I was up near Pixel Pro, up in the 600 block of College Avenue. They had just shut down the avenue. Nobody down the avenue. I got on my bike and I went right down the double yellow line from State Street all the way to Drew Street, hair flowing, and I was flying. They had every intersection was closed, and I was loving downtown for that 4 or 5 minutes. It was pretty sweet. Should have had a GoPro for that one.
Camera on your handlebars would have been sweet.
Next year.
Right. Yeah, next time. Next time.
Jennifer, thank you so much. I love this, and great conversation. I love downtown. I love your work, and thank you for hanging out with me.
Well, thanks for inviting me and having great conversation and making it easy to talk about the work that we do. We're so often talking about what's happening downtown, and we forget to talk about who we are and what we do and our role in all of this. So thank you for the opportunity. It means a lot.
Alrighty, Tosh, it is that time again, once again, for a Red Smith Banquet Throwback. The original idea for this podcast was to release these segments, and we love it, Tosh. We get to look back, and we're going to go back to 1994 at the Paper Valley Hotel That was a great banquet. We had Ernie Harwell, the legendary Detroit Tiger speaker, and then we honored Bob Harlan, who, and of course, 1994, the Packers were primed to make their run to the Super Bowl. But we had a Neenah native receive the Red Smith Award, and the Red Smith Award goes to somebody that's contributed to sports locally in the state of Wisconsin, and there is nobody that's more deserving than who we gave it to that year, and that's Jill Lieber. And I know you're going to say, who's Jill Lieber? Well, she is an absolutely incredible sports journalist. Wrote for Sports Illustrated for years. Broke, of all things, the Pete Rose gambling scandal because of her.
Yeah.
That led Major League Baseball to begin the investigation. And think whatever you want of Pete Rose. He obviously gambled on something, right or wrong, whether he should be in the Hall of Fame. Jill Lieber is the one that did that investigative journalism, and that's pretty insane. And she's a Neenah High School valedictorian.
Yeah, she was. In fact, she's a 3-time Pulitzer Prize winner. For Sports Illustrated as well. I mean, I saw something in Sports Illustrated Vaults, and she kind of talks about not being super proud to say she was from a small town in nowhere, Wisconsin, but comes to realize how much she really appreciated it. But her ties go all the way back to the late 1800s, and her great-grandfather, William Brown, was a carpenter and built the columns that still stand in front of Main Hall at Lawrence University.
How cool is that, Tosh?
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I mean, if you get a chance, you can just find that at vaults.si.com, and you can kind of get a little information about Jill. And again, stories from people in the Fox Valley that you really don't know about. Here's a chance for you to get to know her.
Let's enjoy Jill Lieber from Neenah, Wisconsin, an absolute epic sports journalist. Enjoy.
Red Smith Sports Awards Banquet Throwback.
The Red Smith Award, of course, goes to someone who has made some unique contributions to sport in Wisconsin, and also epitomizes the great values that Red Smith exhibited.
Let's give a Red Smith welcome.
Jill, this is the 1994 Red Smith Sports Award presented to Jill Lieber for your outstanding contribution to sports journalism. Good luck.
First of all, I think I should clear a few things up. I don't want to get blamed for all these things. Number one, I'm not in charge of the swimsuit issue, so I cannot get you a date with the woman on the cover. You wouldn't want to go out with her anyway because she's too skinny. The other thing, I had absolutely nothing to do with the fact that we didn't run anything on the Rose Bowl this year. But I can give you a phone number and a fax and an address if you want to write to New York or phone the managing editor. You do. The other thing is, I don't think I would have wanted to be prom queen even if somebody would have nominated me. But I'll let you in on a little secret. I was a cheerleader. But for volleyball and wrestling, the runner-up girls. And finally, I didn't have anything to do with banishing George Steinbrenner. I helped bring him back. But what you can blame me for is the Tony Mandarich cover. And Bob Harlan is the nicest guy because he's still my friend after that. I have to admit that when I received a letter this summer informing me that I'd received this award, I was very surprised. And when I scanned all the list of the past winners, I was overwhelmed. I actually went back and reread the letter, handed it to my husband, and said, "This can't be. Every year they send me a press release. This is just a press release, isn't it?" And he said, you're winning this award. And I thought it was pretty interesting because I'm not an athlete, I'm not a coach, I'm not an Olympian, and I've never donated money to build buildings for speed skating rinks or hockey teams or basketball teams. In fact, it was pretty exciting to me because the only other woman who's won it was Jane Pettit, and she and her husband won it together, so I'm actually the only woman to get it on her own. And then I started thinking about the past year in Wisconsin and all the people who could have actually gotten this award. And I thought, I didn't lead the Badgers to their first Rose Bowl victory in 30-some years. I didn't lead the Green Bay Packers to their second straight winning season, back to the glory days of Lombardi. I didn't sign the biggest marquee name free agent in pro football, nor did I line up and pull the Packer defense up from the cellar to one of the best overall defenses in the NFL. I didn't split my time between running the Milwaukee Brewers and being the interim commissioner of Major League Baseball. And I didn't rebound from an emotional exit after years with the Brewers to become a World Series champion, a World Series hero for the champion Toronto Blue Jays. And I guess I should stop now, or you're going to take this lovely award back and wonder why you're giving it to me. But it's too late because it's already engraved. What you've chosen to honor me for is the power of the pen. For 15 years of hard work at all levels of writing, newspapers, magazines, and books, and for being a pioneer of sorts as one of the first and still few women in sports writing. To be totally honest, this hasn't been an easy career path. There have been and still are plenty of roadblocks. And quite frankly, if a young woman were to come up to me tonight and ask about going into sports writing, I'd probably dissuade her. To me, the business world is tough enough for women, but to jump into a field that's so male-dominated is and probably always will be very treacherous. But I'm very lucky because I've always had great love, support, and encouragement from my husband, family, and friends. I grew up a Packer fan, going to games at Lambeau Field with my father. When I was in 8th grade, he and I were watching the Packers on TV one Sunday afternoon, and the CBS pregame show, The NFL Today, with Brent Musburger, Irv Cross, Jimmy the Greek, and Phyllis George came on. And my dad said, "That's what you ought to do. You ought to become a female sportscaster like Phyllis George." Well, back then, sitting in my family room in Neenah, Wisconsin, a goal like that seemed pretty unreachable. And when I found out that Phyllis George had also been a Miss America, I figured it was pretty impossible. But not having the title of beauty queen on my resume was minor compared to the obstacles, the true obstacles that I've faced. In 1978, when I began my career as a writer at the Milwaukee Sentinel, I wasn't given a beat because as a woman, I couldn't be assured of locker room access. So I was put in charge of Your Sports, a participatory sports page, and I wrote about subjects like mommy and baby exercise classes, snowshoeing, and nature centers. In 1979, the Brewers were forced to open their locker room in part because of me. And that first night, with all the snide remarks, it was such a horrifying experience that I had to actually go into George Bamberger's office and sit down and put my head between my knees to keep from fainting. One year when I was working at the Sentinel, I was sexually assaulted during an interview with a brewer who will remain nameless. Years later, in the summer of 1989, during an investigation of Pete Rose, I had to go toe-to-toe with the slugger on Easter weekend and remind him that under no uncertain terms should he continue to call me honey. And he replied, "All right, honey." In the summer of 1990, Fay Vincent, who was then the commissioner of baseball, tried to have me fired after I'd launched my own investigation into their investigation of George Steinbrenner and exposed its one-sidedness. And a couple of years ago, I didn't make many friends with my beloved Packers after my cover story on Tony Mandarich entitled The NFL's Biggest Bust. I've been yelled at, screamed at, cursed at, pushed around locker rooms, bashed in the head by TV cameras, called a number of derogatory words, and was probably subjected to sexual harassment before Anita Hill brought it to the national attention. But I have refused to let those things stop me. I was not about to be distracted or deterred from my mission. Instead, I used the hardships to make me mentally tough, to give me confidence and more determination. Above all else, the obstacles have made me even more passionate for my job and make me feel that if I can't succeed, then no woman can. All I've ever tried to do is approach journalism and my job the way I'd like to be treated, with a clear mind, no preconceived notions, with fairness and decency, and above all else, honesty. And this is what I strive for and will continue to strive for, to be respected, both inside and outside the sports and journalism fraternities. To be respected as a writer, not as a woman writer or a sports writer, but to be respected as a writer. And I really cherish this award because I really believe that you people have not forgotten about me as I have not forgotten about you and where I come from, and that this is a great mark of respect that you're showing me. Thank you.
Great. Well, Tosh, another fantastic throwback, and you know what time it is now, right? It's Forgotten, and I'm never forgetting. So, Tosh.
Nice work.
Yeah, hey, I nailed it. Smooth as can be. What is Forgotten, Tosh, in your world?
This is coming from my students because I guess people get worked up over this, even though it doesn't mean anything. And I want to forget the groundhog.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know why people
Phil.
think it's such a Phil Puxatony Phil and Jimmy the groundhog from Sun Prairie, who bit the mayor in the ear a few years ago. It's fun and you can look at it and enjoy it. Maybe it's the fact that it's the middle of winter and people want something to look forward to, but groundhog doesn't do anything. It's a 50-50 chance. Sees a shadow. We have 6 more weeks of winter. If he doesn't, it's an early spring. And to be honest, I saw something from the National Weather Service that they've gone over the last 20 years of Phil's predictions, and he's 30% accurate. So
hey,
take it with a grain of salt. Have fun.
Phil's
with
a
it.
weatherman.
But it is. If you want to actually just remember, March 31st is a spring equinox. And that's when that's the official start of spring. So there you go. Remember, it's always the same every year.
Remember, folks, Tosh is a teacher.
So after that rant, what have you forgotten, Joe? What are you forgetting? What are you don't care about anymore?
Well, Tosh, I don't care about embarrassment anymore, Tosh. I was talking to a friend the other day that embarrassment is greater than, most things. Yeah. The embarrassment. If you can get through embarrassment, Tosh, and that's what I'm doing with the Newsa Minute. I don't know if anybody's watched it. We're taking an attempt at it's shorts on the Newsa YouTube page. Check it out. The numbers are actually going up, and yes, that is actually me on the Newsa Minute fighting through embarrassment. But do us a favor and download, please. Just view it. That would be super, super cool. So yeah, forget
Nice.
Embarrassment, Tosh.
You're doing great.
Yeah, so they
You're
tell
learning.
me.
You're not a pro.
I am not a professional. That is correct. You a professional, Tosh?
Absolutely not. Not in anything that I do.
Oh. Well, how about Never Forgotten, Tosh? What is Never Forgotten with you?
Well, you know what? This is a unfortunately, this is not a good year, but one of the things that my boys love, and I remember doing this when we were, we may not have went skating, we played broomball, but it's the Jones Park ice rink.
Yes.
And, that was up when we were young, and I remember going down and skating down there. I remember playing broomball down there. My boys have enjoyed going there and, playing pickup hockey games. And although it's a bad year for it, what a great setting in the ravine. They kept it going, when they were doing the remodel of Jones Park area, they took it over to Pierce Park and set up the hockey rink there. But it's just a cool setting. It's awesome. It's good to get outside and see people out there skating and having fun. That's a cool thing in Appleton, in downtown Appleton that just, don't want to forget.
No, absolutely. We certainly talked, a lot of downtown Appleton. That's one of the beautiful gems of downtown Appleton. And it triggered a little Red Smith trivia for you, Tosh. Bob Lloyd, longtime MC of the banquet, always had to have a room the Monday and Tuesday night of the Red Smith Banquet. It always had to overlook Jones Park so he could watch all the fine Appletonians skate on the rink that's in a little different place, but that was a Bob Lloyd request during the 70s, 80s, I guess the 80s and 90s of Red Smith Banquet history.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what are you never forgetting, Joe?
Well, Tosh, that same friend that I was talking embarrassment with turned me on to something a couple of weeks ago, and I don't think I'm going to forget this. Actually, I'm kind of liking it. I've always been a coffee guy. I mean, I 3 cups in already today, and it's pretty early in the day for us to be recording, but I love coffee, but tea, it is really, really good, and especially right before you go to bed. I've done it now a few times. I've got the steamer kettle going. I kind of like that, the old whistle. And I have a cup of tea before bed here a couple of times, and I've slept great that night. So, to tea, Tosh, I'm never forgetting tea, and it's always fun to get a cool tip from a friend.
Yeah, there's some tea that helps me go to sleep. It's called Long Island iced tea.
Well, yeah,
a couple of those, and I'm going to sleep as well.
Oh, that tea
Maybe
is
not
so
the same
good.
type of sleep.
Yeah, I've had that. For some reason, I don't get a little spinny when I have that one, but pretty good though. Well, anyway, Tosh, this has been an absolutely fantastic, fun show. Thank you to Jennifer. We are excited too for next week. We've got Diggstown. You and I are going on the road with our equipment, and we're going to hang with the Diggstown group after their gig, actually, this coming Thursday at the Paper Valley Hotel. Check that out. So we're excited for that, and hope you folks enjoyed this Newsa-Cast.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to another great episode of the Newsa-Cast. We'd really appreciate it if you hit up our social pages, subscribe, like, follow, and don't be afraid to engage. Head over to our YouTube channel to get exclusive content like the full interviews and speeches from the past Red Smith banquets.
Thanks for listening to the Newsa-Cast. We really appreciate your support. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and tell a friend. A huge thank you to Diggstown for all the music in today's episode. Catch a gig or find them on Spotify. Help us grow by subscribing wherever you get your pods or sharing the Newsa-Cast. Follow us on Facebook, X, TikTok, or Instagram. One of the best ways to help us grow is to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Northeastern Wisconsin Sports Advancement is a 501c3 organization. Our mission is to raise money, provide support, and bring greater awareness for youth sports organizations in Northeast Wisconsin. We do this primarily through the Red Smith Sports Award Banquet and the Newsa-Cast. Each year, we give back to the community through 3 initiatives: the Every Kid Plays Grant, the Gives Back Initiative, and scholarships to student athletes.